What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again with another episode of the Transfer Show, our weekly show that's been rolling throughout the summer transfer window. And today we're going to be continuing to speak about all the latest City transfer news involving City, including doing a bit more of a deep dive into the centre-back situation that Manchester City are seemingly wanting to get involved in. So we'll speak about that in just one moment. So before we crack on with doing this stream, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to my channel. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news. So if you haven't already, I would appreciate you guys subscribing. It does help to support the channel, and that would be much appreciated. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're watching this after the stream, do feel free to come and say hello and give your thoughts in the live chat. I'll say hello to everybody in just one moment. Do leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. And also don't forget as well to go and check out my social media links, which you can find in the description. So warm welcome to Jay. Thank you for tuning in. Also welcome to Akondip. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in as well. Much appreciated to Nadir as well. Fabrizio, he's just building up anticipation for the transfers. It is basically what I like to call in the transfer world. He's pretty much just putting out the seeds for potential transfers, and basically wants to be able to give updates. And when he's not got updates, he's just going to, in terms of keeping people up to date and obviously getting the engagement that he's looking for, he's pretty much just planting the seeds and giving minimal information and minimal updates when it comes to transfers, in particular with Man City. And that's just purely because behind the scenes, City are working on so much stuff right now that they're just wanting to kind of work their way through transfers one by one, and pretty much, obviously, there's bigger transfers that City are going to be involved in than the ones that City have maybe been working on, in particular with the outgoing. So, Severi, Naipan, Claudio Echeverri, very much important players for the future, but not very much, the big high-profile incomings or outgoings that City would be looking for. And I think it's just pretty much about Fabrizio very much just identifying players that he's expecting to speak about a lot between now and transfer deadline day. And obviously he's going to come back to the things that he's been reporting on and saying that, he's been keeping everyone up to date every single day. It can be quite difficult, and I have a lot of sympathy for Fabrizio, because I obviously cover City content every single day with all the latest City transfer news. And some days I feel like I'm repeating myself with things that have been said. There's short updates, but there's people that are tuning in or reading or seeing or hearing things for the first time, so I have to repeat the information that's already been reported before I can go on to throwing out a very small update on another player. And it can get very frustrating. It can be very frustrating when you covering the content, because you do feel like you're repeating yourself. And sometimes people will comment to me and say, like, if there's no news to report on, then just don't simply put a video out for the sake of putting a video out. But I find that there is bits of information, there is bits of updates. Might not be very big updates, but it's updates nonetheless that I want to speak about. And sometimes it is me just recycling and going over old information before I can get on to reporting the little updates with the new bits of information. And I can sympathise with Fabrizio with where he's coming from when he's covering things every single day. It's the nature of the game. Fabrizio does what he does, and he does it very well. And I, for one, am very appreciative of the work that Fabrizio does, in particular when it comes to transfers involving not just Man City but all other football clubs as well, as it's a good way to stay up to date. Connor, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We'll speak about Manuel Akanji in just one moment, and echoing your thoughts there on Claudio Echeverri. He's confirmed as joining Bayer Leverkusen on loan today, so wishing him the very best of luck. Also welcome to Abu. Thank you for tuning in as well. Says no recall. City have got what they want in terms of Akanji wanting to leave, and I presume you're on about there with the options of City wanting to have the option to obviously recall players that they've sent out on loan when it comes to the centre-backs, which I presume you're speaking about Jean-May Simpson-Pussy and also Vitor Reis, which we will speak about in just one moment. Welcome, Finn. much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in as well. US Blue, thank you for tuning in as well. Thank you very much for your kind comment there. Renell, thank you for tuning in as well. Welcome, Crypto as well. Thanks for tuning in. Kitty, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Joseph tuning in from Liberia. Much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. Jiri, thanks for tuning in. Reckons we should be targeting Pedro Porro or Denzel Dumfries. And there's the potential of a non-homegrown player being targeted by City, but we'll see what does happen. I'd be surprised if City choose to make a move for a right back in this window. We haven't been linked or done anything right now, so unless something drastic changes, like Mateus Nunes leaving, then I can't see anything materialising when it comes to right backs in this window. Kitty, I'm very well, thank you very much. Feeling a bit tired. It's been a long week covering all things City and doing my work and everything, but yeah, all good fun. I have fun. I enjoy doing them. Just feeling the wear and tear of the summer transfer window, I think, and I for one will be happy for the window to come to an end and I can have a little rest during the international break. Thank you very much, Finn, as well. Much appreciated. MJ, thanks for tuning in. Says, how much does the Savinho and Edison saga affect City with the Rodrigo and Donnarumma rumours? The Donnarummas. I enjoyed that joke. I can't remember who put it out, but I thought it was quite amusing. Yeah, in terms of affecting the rumours, they have a huge implication because we need players to leave before players can be brought in, so it has a massive knock-on effect with that. But in terms of actual information coming out with the rumours, City will be working on things in the background to ensure that everything's in place, that, if a situation comes about like Savinho leaving, then it's not going to take City very long to get a a Rodrigo transfer sorted to replace Savinho. So City have to do all the legwork behind the scenes to get that all sorted. Transfers don't just happen; they don't just materialise over a day. It's not transfer deadline day where things get very hectic very quickly. We're still talking well over a week left of the transfer window. So City interested in potentially bringing players in, then all that legwork will be getting done right now, and then hopefully if players do leave City, are then going to go out and be able to make transfers happen to replace our players, so we're not left short in terms of our squad. So Edison leaves, then Donnarumma would get lined up, and same with Savinho. If he leaves, Rodrigo, the player that City interested in bringing in. Ryan, welcome, thank you for tuning in. The Let's Player, thank you for tuning in as well. The latest I've heard on Edison, he's training with the City first team squad. Galatasaray are struggling to afford the fee. The fact that they're looking at alternatives tells me that there's a possibility that Edison is going to stay, but until we get further developments on Edison joining Galatasaray, I'm not expecting things to warm up when it comes to things involving Gigi Donnarumma. Right now, I'd still my stance I don't think has changed since last week. I think I'm pretty 50-50 on whether Edison's going to leave or stay. It's all about Galatasaray going to stump up the cash to make things happen. And at the moment, Galatasaray seem to be interested in near enough every single Man City player that's potentially available for transfer. So, and I'm yet to see them actually stump up the cash to City to pay for any of our players. So. Some people could say it's a bit of a smokescreen transfer, and I probably lean towards saying I agree with that. But if they do end up paying a price that City are happy with, then a transfer can materialise very quickly. So at the moment, I think Edison's just focused on being ready and prepared for Man City's game at the weekend against Tottenham Hotspur. I've heard some murmurs that Edison, obviously training is going to be available for selection, so keep an eye on the press conference for Pep Guardiola tomorrow. We'll get a further update on Edison about his illness. If he's still ill, then if someone's ill for longer than a week, I'd say that's quite a serious illness, and he should probably be in hospital getting that one checked out. So if he's still ill next week, but he doesn't need to go to hospital, then I'm going to hazard a guess that things are still moving in the background in the transfer world. So wait for Pep Guardiola. If he's available for selection, then I'd probably suggest that this transfer isn't as far as some people think that it is. So we'll see what does happen. Anel, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Welcome, Nikosi, as well. I can't see City going towards any right backs in this window, so I don't think City are going to touch upon any of the Spurs players. Spurs sound quite keen on including one of their players in potential transfers, so they don't have to stump up the cash. I don't know what that tactic's all about, but I think if City are to sell Savinho, it's not. I don't think City are going to be interested in any Spurs players that they're going to offer us, so it'll have to be cash, in my opinion. And you're more than welcome, Finn. You are more than welcome. Simon, welcome as well. Much appreciated. As well, says the transfer saga is the most draining news of any window. Even the Wirtz deal didn't get this much draining since we got told a straight answer. It does tend to drag on, and you get lots of bits of conflicting information and a lot of back and forth. It's fun and games in the transfer window. I enjoy covering it. It can get frustrating, but I do enjoy covering it, believe it or not. Welcome, Say as well. Much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. David, thank you for tuning in. Jamie, thank you for tuning in. The £15 million asking price for Akanji, I'd say, is a fair reflection. You know, he's nearly 30 years old. He got, 2 years left on his contract. Very much a squad player, I think, at City. We brought him in for, how much did we sign him for? It was less than £15 million, I think. So, I think it represents a fair market value for Manuel Akanji. I don't think City will be able to get high quality players for £15 million to replace him, but we're going to speak about centre-backs in just one moment about what City could do. Leo, it's very much looking like Callum Doyle not going to be an option for City, and he's going to be sold to Wrexham. £8 million transfer, £5 million as the upfront fee with £3 million in add-ons. Not been confirmed as of yet, but I don't think that is too far away. We will talk about Rodrigo and Donnarumma, of course. We've got all transfers, so they will be talked about in today's update, of course. Leo tuning in from Kenya. Love that. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for tuning in from Ethiopia as well. Much appreciated. We're very popular in Africa. I love it. We've got Mr. Thanks for tuning in from Tanzania. Heard good things of Tanzania. It's very nice there. Rai, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Big shout out to you. Keep doing what you're doing some great work. Tito, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Also, welcome to Ardash. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Dalton, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Manavajit, thanks for tuning in as well. Edison put in a transfer request. That's quite interesting. I'll check that out after this stream's come to an end before my transfer update. That's very interesting if that is the case. Savinho may need to do that if he wants to force his move to Tottenham Hotspur as well. Bay, thanks for tuning in. Good shot stopper, as far as I'm concerned. Where would he rank? I'd say he's an all-round solid good goalkeeper. I don't particularly like ranking players because, you know, it's based on opinion rather than fact. I'd go as far to say, like, as a well-rounded goalkeeper, is a very solid choice for, in particular, an experienced goalkeeper. I mean, Donnarumma, I always feel like he's at his very best when the stakes are very high. He's a big game player. You know, if Man City are in big, important games and you need Donnarumma to step up, then, you know, they're the kind of games where Donnarumma really excels and thrives as far as I'm concerned. Whereas, you know, there might be some other games where the limelight's not necessarily on the goalkeeper, where some weaknesses may be exposed by Gigi Donnarumma. I do think that Donnarumma could improve on his distribution. I don't think he's anywhere near the level that Edison's at, but I also think that Donnarumma is a better shot stopper than Edison. I also think he commands his area better than Edison does. So there's pros and cons to all goalkeepers. I think Donnarumma's better with his judging on saving penalties. He's got a bigger frame than Edison. He's a more intimidating goalkeeper as well. So it all depends. Like, you got to find that balance between having distribution at the back and also having a goalkeeper doing the fundamental jobs of a goalkeeper, which is keeping the ball out of the back of the net. And you've got to find that right balance as far as I'm concerned. Gene, thanks for tuning in. Welcome as well. Much appreciated. Dalton, thank you for tuning in as well. It doesn't reckon we'll sign Donnarumma and Rodrigo. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't sign either, but they're the players that are just out there as the contingencies for City in case either Edison or Savinho do leave, and that could happen. And if that does happen, then there is going to be that case where these players are going to be brought in. And say, I hope that answered your question as well. It's been reported that Akanji is going to be going to Galatasaray. You guessed it, been linked with every single City player, and Manuel Akanji, no different to that, although he did kind of rebuff the rumours on his Instagram yesterday, commenting on Fabrizio Romano's post about Galatasaray closing in on that agreement, with Akanji saying it's the first that he's heard of that, so he's confirming that isn't the case. And apparently Manuel Akanji, word from his camp is he's very relaxed about his future and would like to stay at City. So it's all about a case where, City have got to sell at least one first team player who's non-homegrown. because that will allow us then to register everybody that we've got available to us as, of course, dependent on Calvin Phillips and Stefan Ortega leaving in this window, not including, of course, what may happen with Savinho and also with Edison, that, of course, either of them players leave, can be replaced by either homegrown or non-homegrown players. It doesn't really matter for Man City. Kawami, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated as well. Gene tuning in from St. Lucia. We've got Jimmy tuning in from Sweden. We've got Fidelis tuning in from Zambia. Love that one. We've got Admiral tuning in from Zimbabwe. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Mohammed, yeah, we'll speak about Donnarumma and Rodrigo in just one moment. Ocean, thanks for tuning in as well. Much appreciated. A fantastic name that, by the way. I hope I've pronounced it correctly. Hopefully I have. Also, Christian, thank you for tuning in as well. Much appreciated. Transfer update I'm aiming for. I mean, we'll probably be live here for another 15 to 20 minutes. It takes me about 15 minutes to film. It takes me normally about an hour or two to sort of transfer update out. So I'd be aiming for... Look at this. I'd be probably aiming for around 5 to 5:30 p.m. BST for my transfer update to be out for today. Welcome, Victor. Thanks for tuning in as well. Ocean tuning in from Ireland. Fantastic. We've got Ireland in the room. We've got Jamie tuning in from Canada as well. We've got Zafaryab tuning in from Pakistan. We've got Finn tuning in from Wales. We've got Christian tuning in from Indiana in the US. Oh, fantastic stuff. John tuning in from Belfast. We've got pretty much all the globe covered. We've got Gian, thanks for tuning in from Jamaica as well. Say tuning in from Morocco. Yeah, very much international here on the JSGC channel, and a big shout out to my huge international audience that I've got tuning in from all around the world. Big shout out to you guys. Absolutely fantastic. We've got Akandip as well, tuning in from Cameroon. Much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. Sana, thanks for tuning in as well. Tuning in from Grenada, over in the Caribbean. Fantastic. Saipa, you're going to have to elaborate a little bit more about what's going on. Are you on about in terms of a specific bit of City news, or are you on about just in terms of the live stream? If you're on about just in terms of the live stream, I enjoy saying hello to you guys, because I only roll them once a week, so it's nice to be able to say hello to everybody. Before we speak about the big talking point, because, yeah, centre-backs. Big talking point that's been happening over the last few days or so. Manuel Akanji, if you didn't know, being linked with a £15 million move to Galatasaray, which Manuel Akanji doesn't seem overly that keen on. So I'm not too sure about whether that transfer will happen or not. The fact that reliable sources are reporting that these offers are going in and discussions are taking place and they're not dismissing these transfers as quickly as this news comes out tells me that there is probably some legs in this transfer. So we'll see if we do get further developments. Keep an eye on the Man City squad for this weekend about whether Akanji is going to be included in the squad and if he starts, because that's always a good indication about the future of a football player and what's going to happen to them in the very near future. Because if Man City are on the verge of making £15 million from a sale for Akanji, they're going to be telling Pep Guardiola to not feature him this weekend against Tottenham Hotspur. And of course, Akanji didn't feature for Man City last weekend, and the rumour mill's been spiralling from there. We still need to sell a non-homegrown player to meet our quotas in terms of our registrations for our 25-man squad for both the Premier League and the Champions League. So selling someone like Akanji does make a lot of sense, and Man City can afford to sell one centre-back and still be pretty okay with in terms of our centre-back options, even if a couple of them are injury-prone, because we have got other players that can help cover them. So we're going to have a look at the squad so we can get a better understanding about what the City squad is looking like and what, in terms of centre-backs, we're looking like, and why Man City, if we do choose to sell a second centre-back in this transfer window, Man City may want to think about either recalling one of our loanees in terms of Jaime Simpson-Pusi or Vitor Reis, or maybe going into the market to bring somebody else in. So I really just wanted to be able to get my teeth into this. So, but to be able to do that, really, we've got to have a good look at Man City's squad, and in particular, this section right here in terms of our defenders. Now, the player that's not featured on here, and they are featured as a midfielder, is this man right here, Nico O'Reilly. So I want you to think of him just for the basically the simplicity of this video. Think of him as a defender rather than a midfielder. And the same with Mateus Nunes as well. Obviously, this is Man City's website, so I can't move it about, but think of them as defenders rather than midfielders, because more than likely when they're going to be utilised by Man City, they're going to be utilising these players as defenders rather than midfielders. So this is the current squad that we're looking at in terms of the defenders. I think Man City are looking pretty decent in terms of our defence. So if we end up selling nobody in this transfer window, we don't need to do anything else about the likes of Jame Simpson-Pusi being recalled or Vitor Reis being recalled. That doesn't need to happen. I don't think if City were planning on selling a defender, so let's say Akanji, does his £50 million move to Galatasaray. I don't think Man City would have wanted Vitor Reis to head out on loan, because they want that extra centre-back option to help cover both on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, and also being our natural centre-back as well. And I do feel like over the next 12 months, if Akanji doesn't leave in this window, I think he may leave in the next window, and I do feel like Vitor Reis is the natural successor for Manuel Akanji. So I don't really think that City need to dip into the market to replace Manuel Akanji, because you've got Vitor Reis ready to be that player. But we want him to get first team minutes. We want him to get regular starts. I think that's going to happen at Girona. And if we don't recall him before September 1st, he cannot be recalled until the opening of the next transfer window on January 1st, where the registrations become open again, and Vitor Reis could potentially play for Man City in both the Champions League latter stages and also in the Premier League as well. So if we're not going to address any centre-backs in this window and Akanji does leave, then Vitor Reis cannot come back to City until at least January, and it could leave us a little short. But I personally think with good squad management and game management, and if City are 3-0 up, you're resting and rotating your centre-backs and you're resting and rotating your defence. As long as you're able to do that, then I don't think City are going to have too many problems. And I think a lot here hinges upon this man here, John Stones, and this man here, Nathan Ake, in keeping these players fit. And the only way you're going to keep these players fit is managing their minutes. Once we get to September and we're playing every 3 to 4 days, Nathan Ake and John Stones cannot be doing 3 games in a week. So you've got to manage them expectations. You've got to look at the next 2 or 3 games and identify which game is the game that you want these players to be starting in. And that's how I'd manage the minutes. I wouldn't say, let's say, for example, Man City's fixtures over the course of the second week of September, which is Manchester United at home, a Champions League game followed by Arsenal away. Ideally, you'd want your best defenders available, and I still would regard John Stones as one of Man City's best defenders that we've got when he is fully fit. He's not going to be doing them 3 games, so I'd look at them 3 games and I'd identify about which centre-back pairing would be the best for each team. So, for example, Manchester United, what are you thinking about in terms of the centre-backs? You may be able to get away with Ruben Diaz and Joško Vardiol starting if they're both fit as the 2 centre-backs for that game. So John Stones can sit that game out. He can be on the bench as an unused substitute if you want him to. And then the Champions League game comes about. Well, Man City might think, you know what, I want John Stones starting against Arsenal away from home. Right, that's absolutely fine. So John Stones doesn't start or feature against Man United. You can bring him off the bench in the Champions League game, give him 20 minutes and see how he's looking. And then if he's looking perfectly fine, then you start him against Arsenal. And that's how you manage the expectations and minutes of these injury-prone players, because these injury-prone players are injury-prone for a reason. It's because they're struggling to keep themselves fit. So you've got to find ways to manage the minutes, manage the expectations, and manage their game time. And the same can be said with Nathan Ake as well. Now, I'm really happy that we've decided in this window to go out and bring in Ryan Aït-Nouri, because that takes all the pressure away from Nathan Ake. It's even if Manuel Akanji ends up staying at City, opens up the potential that Nathan Ake could leave Man City. But because Nathan Ake's homegrown and non-homegrown, and is not non-homegrown, it does mean that in terms of our squad availability, our squad will either be a 24-man squad, or we have the option to go into the academy and promote an academy player for one of the other positions, or a centre-back if they wanted to, and bring them in instead. So let's say, for example, the Callum Doyle move to Wrexham collapses, Nathan Ake leaves, we could promote Callum Doyle because he's also homegrown to the City first team squad, and all you do on here is you simply replace Nathan Ake's name with Callum Doyle. Doesn't affect the registrations, perfectly fine. But more than likely, he will get his transfer to Wrexham, as that is close to being completed now. So it means it opens up the opportunity of Man City either doing one or two things, which is dip into the market and bring in a homegrown centre-back, or go to the academy and promote an academy player for whichever position you want it to be, whether that be a centre-back or another position. Now, I think if one or the other, Akanji or Ake, ends up leaving Man City in this window, I don't think I'd replace them. I'd assess the squad management between September, October, November and December, and if we're looking like we're really struggling, then I would contemplate getting Vitor Reis and or Jaume Simpson-Pusi back from their loan and bring them back to Man City to have them extra legs to help cover City if we want to go down that route. What I would say would be a bit of a disaster here for Man City would be to let both Manuel Akanji and Nathan Ake leave in the same window. Nathan Ake being linked with a move to Everton. It's since been reported that these rumours may be a little bit of a stretch and Everton right now aren't interested, but I found that link really interesting because it's the first time we've really heard anything solid about Nathan Ake potentially leaving Man City, and if that is the case, then that is something that City do need to think about. I think we'd be okay if one of Akanji or Ake left with the options that we've got. Obviously, you've got Rico Lewis and Matheus Nunes that can cover at right back for Man City. I imagine, John Stones can help cover there. Ruben Diaz, right-footed, he can slot in on the right-hand side. Same with Cody Husanov. I do feel like having three high-quality centre-backs in the form of Ruben Diaz, Joško Vardiol and Cody Husanov. They're the three main centre-backs for me that you're going to be looking to rotate. Obviously, Nathan Ake and John Stones are quality, fantastic centre-backs. I don't think they could be relied upon in terms of their injuries. So I'm looking towards Ruben Diaz. I'm looking towards Joško Vardiol. I'm looking towards Kadir Husanov. And I'm saying to these players, you're going to be the players who are going to be getting a heck of a lot of minutes over the first half of the season. You are going to be rotated more than likely heavily. And if these players start to feel the wear and tear like we felt last season through November and December, it can have dangerous impacts on City. And letting your squad rotated players leave in the summer window and not replacing them can be very costly. Now, normally I'd look at this and I'd say Akanji and Ake can leave. We've got Vitor Reis, we've got Simpson-Pusi. These are going to be the future of Man City. Give them their opportunity. But because we've chosen to loan them players out, you haven't got them options now until at least January 1st. And more than likely, City have loaned them out because they're happy for them to be on loan and they want them to complete their loan spells. And if they're getting regular starts and regular minutes and they're happy with the players' development, we're not going to see them until next season. So if we scrub Vitor Reis off that list, we scrub Akanji off because he's been sold to Galatasaray for 15 million, and Nathan Ake seals a transfer to Everton, and we scrub him off this list as well. All of a sudden, you take away 1, 2, and 3 players there, and you're left with Rayan Aït-Nouri and Joško Vardiol and Nico O'Reilly as your options on the left-hand side. You're left with Rico Lewis, Matheus Nunes, and probably John Stones as your options on the right-hand side, and then your centre-back options, well, it's going to be Ruben Diaz, it's going to be Joško Vardiol, it's going to be Cody Husanov. 3 of the them players, there's 2 positions available there. You pick up an injury to a Ruben Diaz or a Vardiol or a Husanov, and then all your reliability goes on to this man here. And I just feel like if there is a sale of Akanji and Ake, we're left short. And if there is an option, I've never seen it happen before, but there's a first time for everything. If Man City don't want to dip into the window and bring somebody else in, which I wouldn't recommend just going into the window and bringing somebody in for the sake of bringing somebody in. Obviously, we've identified Vitor Reis as being that next option for Man City, that you give him another season of integration and you bring him back from Girona, you recall him from his loan because you've sold Ake, you've sold Akanji, they want to leave, they sealed their transfers, and we need another centre-back option to help with our squad numbers, to help with them getting minutes. And when we're looking at just free centre-backs who can be relied upon for their fitness, well, you're more than likely going to need a 4th option. And I just think relying on injury-prone players is suggesting to me that we're not learning our lesson. The only other thing I'd recommend is if Ake and Akanji are going to potentially leave, we'd have to look towards a homegrown player being brought in. And I'm fully aware that this man here, John Stones, his contract is up next summer. If his fitness continues like it has since he's been at Man City, and I see no reason why his fitness would get any better, and he continues to be a player who can't be relied upon for to be featured because he's too injury prone, I'd be surprised if John Stones gets offered a new contract. And I think there'd be a lot of teams who'd be interested in bringing in John Stones just purely because of how good he is when he is injury-free. It's just keeping him injury-free has been the big Achilles heel for John Stones. And so Man City may want to look at it and say, do you know what, John Stones, in 12 months' time, probably not going to be here. We want to look towards a homegrown centre-back to bring in to integrate over the next 12 months. I'd say perfectly fine with that. But in terms of the options, you're pretty limited because what are your options? Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace, who I'd be very surprised if he's still a Crystal Palace player in this window. Liverpool being heavily linked. He's a player I like. I think he'd be a real good signing if City wanted to target him, but I'd be very surprised if he became a Man City player before the end of this transfer window. So it leaves the only other option really is Jared Branthwaite as the next generation of player. Who'd be very expensive because he's just signed a new contract at Everton. He's not leaving in this window. There's the potential of him maybe leaving next summer, but he'd be very expensive. What I'm keeping an eye on here and I'm finding really interesting, and I'm just going to merely speculate because I like speculating, but we're looking here at a situation where John Stones has potentially leaving City. We want to look towards a long-term John Stones replacement. Jared Branthwaite is a perfect player for that. The fact that we've loaned Jack Grealish out to Everton shows me that City are happy to do business and are working with Everton on transfers, and the fact that we may look to sell Nathan Ake to Everton as well further suggests to me that Man City are open to doing business with Everton and therefore improving our relations with them. They're getting some fantastic players. Jack Grealish, Nathan Ake, these are players who are going to be starting every single game for Everton. That's a huge step up in quality. I don't care what Everton fans have been saying about squad rotation, this and these players not being needed and stuff. Nathan Ake, when fit, is a fantastic player. He was so important to us during that treble season. He was absolutely phenomenal. And if Nathan Ake is fully fit, he is Everton's best defender. Absolutely. Jack Grealish, you get him firing on all cylinders. He's Everton's best creative attacking outlet. So these are high quality players. They're on a lot of wage at City for a reason, and Everton are getting high quality, proven winners, Champions League winners, Premier League winners. These aren't squad rotated options at Man City who are just not good enough for our squad anymore. We're talking here about players who unfortunately are just not required by City anymore, who are still of high quality, making a transfer to Everton. And Everton are picking up high-quality players for good deals. Loan deal for Jack Grealish. Don't have to pay a loan fee. There's no guarantees in that purchase option of a mandatory obligation to buy. Everton have had a good deal. All they've got to do is contribute to not have to pay all of his wage. So they've had a good deal there. And Everton would probably get a good deal for Nathan Ake as well. So that, for me, the improving of relations opens the door potentially, because Jared Branthwaite isn't going to be leaving Everton in this window, that if Man City have their opening in their squad, then Branthwaite would be a good long-term replacement. And if Man City have identified Branthwaite as their long-term John Stones replacement, then they're probably not going to want to dip into this window to go about bringing in another centre-back, which then again just begs the question about what we're going to do about Jaume Simpson-Poussey and his loan at Celtic. He's a homegrown centre-back who's been around our first-team squad, who have decided, actually, it's time for you to go on loan. Callum Doyle's had some great loan spells in the Championship, and we've decided, do you know what, we're going to sell him instead. Issa Kabore's spent pre-season at City last summer. Looked very impressive, Premier League experience, and again, they're thinking about selling him and moving him on instead. Vitor Reis as well, another high-quality option. What's the worst case? You don't register him for the Champions League? Well, manage the players' minutes and expectations. Having Vitor Reis as a quality option in the Premier League and the domestic cup competitions it's all about having them options available to City. When you start to move all these players away, the squad becomes smaller, but we're depleting our defence and our centre-backs. And this was one of the biggest issues that Man City had last season in terms of overusing players, and these players picking up serious injuries and serious knocks because we weren't finding a way to find the right balance in our defence. And I'll tell you right now, we know what it takes to win Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. You've got to have a solid backline, a consistent backline. You need to know who your strongest 11 is. You need to know who your strongest defence is. And if we're constantly needing to chop and change because our squad's too short in terms of our centre-back options and we're having to rotate due to fear of fatigue and injury and stuff, it can be very detrimental. And it just everything points towards us having the same problems this season as we had last season. And having the same problems this season as last season doesn't cut it for me. So we've got the chance here to do something about it in this window. I'm not suggesting dipping in the market. I think that might be a bad idea if we've identified other players to target in another window. Don't go down that route. But you have the option to, say to Girona, look, we're sorry, we're happy for Vitor Reis to go on loan there, but things have changed. Nathan Ake, Manuel Akanji, they're set to leave Man City. We need our players back. He comes back, you sit down and you say that to Celtic as well. You say, sorry, we're having to shortchange you, but these are our players. We need our players back because we've had teams come in for our other players who want to leave, so we're going to cash in. There are players at the end of the day. Football is a ruthless business. We want our players back. And that's, for me, is the route that we go down. If Akanji leaves and we've got an opening for a non-homegrown player to come in, don't dip in the market. Save that money. Bring in Vitor Reis back from Girona. Same as well with Nathan Ake. If you're looking towards homegrown players and you don't want to promote any other players from within the academy, you sit down, you go up north of the border to Celtic and you say, sorry, it's inconvenient for you, but we need Simpson Pussy back. And that is the direction that I would be looking for in this window to sort out the centre-backs. As far as I'm concerned, that's as far as things go. I'd say for everybody else, unless your name's Stefan Ortega, or your name's Calvin Phillips, or your name is Savinho, or your name is Edison, we're not doing any more bits of business. We're done and dusted there because there's only so much business that you can get sorted before you start to really take the shackles off and you're shopping and changing too much. Hugo Viana knows exactly what he's doing, so I'd leave him to get on with his job. And I think that some of the best bits of business is not always about the incoming. Sometimes it's about the outgoings, and sometimes it's about keeping hold of your players that you've currently got. And I think letting Akanji go and letting Nathan Ake go and not replacing these players and not recalling players from a loan is a very, very dangerous game to play. Very dangerous game to play. So we will see what does happen. I would like to see Vitor Reis brought back. If Akanji leaves, Vitor Reis would be the player that I would be bringing back. And I'd like to have seen Callum Doyle. We're going to sell him. So because of that, what other options do we have in the elite development squad when it comes to centre backs and players being potentially available? I mean, let's have a look. 1 second. Right, let's have a look what we're looking at in terms of the academy and the defenders. I mean, we're looking pretty depleted in the EDS when it comes to our defenders at the moment. We're not going to call up any of them from the academy. I mean, what we're looking at in terms of the elite development squad, loads of players out on loan already. Max Elaine could have been a good option. Finlay Burns, I think, is at Reading. We'll let Thomas Galvez go. Luke Mbete, I've not heard about Luke Mbete in ages, but when he's been loaned out, he's been playing in League One, which seems to have been his level. I'm just looking at the experience in the players that you've got available. This man here is probably the most experienced that we've got. We're selling him for £8 million. So, we've seen Katongo around the first team squad before. We've seen Mbete do pre-season with City before. Simpson Pussy has obviously spent a good amount of time during City's little injury crisis around the first team squad. So I just don't think we're stacked with that many options. So yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts of this. I really don't know. I do not know if Akanji's going to go. One of our non-homegrown players has got to leave because we still can't register everybody. I know we're allowed 19 non-homegrown players, but we've got to register 25 players. So in terms of our homegrown rulings, because we're allowed 8, 19 at 8 is 27. Takes us 2 over, and Man City are chopping and changing. Once Stefan Ortega and Calvin Phillips goes, our squad's been trimmed and our squad's looking pretty complete. We're still, though, 1 player more in our non-homegrown players. So, yeah. Who is going to be that player? Keep talking about Gundogan and keep speaking about Kovacic, but we don't seem to be getting much movement when it comes to central midfielders. They seem to be targeting centre-backs at this moment in time, and I'm not too sure if I think that is the right direction, so... yeah, we'll see. Connor, it's a good question. I wouldn't rule out that being Ederson. I would go with James Trafford. I think he deserves to start that game. But I wouldn't rule out Ederson making a return. He's been training all week with Man City. I presume he's going to be available for selection. I presume he's over his illness. And if Ederson is fit and available, I see no reason why he cannot be part of the City squad for our match against Tottenham Hotspur. And if he's fit and available, and if we're going towards the routes of... obviously going with your first choice players, you'd pick Ederson. You know, for if it's if Ederson's not been linked with the exit door, you'd be saying I want my first choice keeper available. If Ederson's over his illness, then Ederson would start ahead of James Trafford. But James Trafford is the future for Man City. But he had a tremendous game against Wolves, and because of that, I want to see a little bit more of him. And I did say last week, and I'm going to repeat what I said, I would drag Ederson's situation on to transfer deadline day to give Man City enough time to gather all the information that they're looking for. Not so much about a replacement, because we probably know it's going to be Donnarumma, but more about getting the information about James Trafford, because I said things get really interesting, that if you start James Trafford against Tottenham Hotspur and he keeps a clean sheet, that's consecutive clean sheets, and you start James Trafford against Brighton and he keeps another clean sheet, we've had 3 pretty banana skin kind of games. None of them have been easy. Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away. They're not easy games, these. These are games where Man City could easily fall short. So you look towards your defence, and you look towards your keeper, and if you're keeping clean sheets and your goalkeeper's making important saves and commanding the area really well, and there's nothing wrong with his distribution, which is exactly what happened during the Wolves game. James Trafford had a very good performance. He didn't do anything wrong. He deserves to be starting the next game, and then it gives you a bit of a selection headache. And for me, I'd be looking towards that selection headache just to see and test James Trafford about how good he is, because Wolves away, it's a game I'd expect City to win. Could have been a bit trickier, but ultimately the goal was offside, so it wasn't as tricky as what it could have been, and we got the job done in a very professional, very cool, confident, and a brilliant performance in the end from City. Got the job done. Tottenham Hotspur, though, was a different ball game. That is a very difficult game. Team full of runners. A team that are good at exposing the weaknesses that Man City had last season, led by a manager who's a tremendous manager in Thomas Frank. He's done a fantastic job at Brentford. I think Brentford are going to struggle because of how good of a job Thomas Frank has done. So their expectations are very high. I don't think he had the best of teams or the best of players available to him. I just think he's very good at getting the very best out of players who you wouldn't necessarily look twice at. And if he can get that ethos across Tottenham Hotspur as well, then they're looking here at a very good manager who will get the very best out of them players, and they've got some very gifted, very talented players available to them. So that is a very difficult game for Man City. Second game of the season as well. That's a huge test. If James Trafford starts and keeps a clean sheet and Man City win that game, I think things get really interesting when it comes to goalkeepers. No updates on Joshko. He's not leaving City. He's training back with Man City as well. So we'll see. I've not seen anything. I've seen a spoof account tweet out about MEN saying Ederson is starting. I've not seen anything that's confirmed that Ederson would be starting. But as I mentioned, if he's fit and available, then you would look towards your first choice keeper. I just think it's really harsh on James Trafford to say that he's not going to be starting that game. So we will see. Tausi, thanks for tuning in. Certainly able to bring in Donnarumma. It depends if Ederson is going to leave. Waiting on updates from Pep Guardiola and his press conference tomorrow. It's going to be another really interesting one. We'll see who is fit and available, who's got these injuries, these niggles, these illnesses. These are the things that we are looking for. So, I must have missed that one. As I said, I've seen a spoof account tweet about the MEN saying that Bojkowski said that Ederson was going to be starting, but I've not seen the actual Manchester Evening News say anything about that, or I couldn't find anything when I saw this information come out. I think it was it last night or this morning? So, we'll see. We'll see. Pep Guardiola will give us our confirmation. We'll get official confirmation from Pep tomorrow. He'll give us an update, and we'll see if Ederson is in the squad. If he's been training, so I'm going to presume yes, he is available. And yeah, we'll go from there. Whether he starts, I think, is a different matter. A big different matter. So yeah, but Ederson, Galatasaray pay a good price that City are happy with. And Ederson says he wants to leave. I think City would sell Ederson and Donnarumma would be the player that had come in. No further updates since my last transfer update on either Ederson or Gigi Donnarumma. And also, same with Rodrigo as well. Two mouth-watering signings, players that will win you big trophies, of course. But it takes players to leave and the correct prices have got to be paid for these players. Savinho's got to leave for Rodrigo to come in. Tottenham Hotspur have got to pay a good price to Man City. City Chiefs don't want to sell. They're blocking the transfer. Savinho, if he wants the transfer, he's simply got to ask for the transfer to happen, and it might take the same from Ederson as well. We'll see if they do want to do that. But I imagine things will probably stall on this over the weekend because Man City are playing on Saturday. They'll go through recovery mode on Sunday, and you probably won't get further developments on this until next Monday and beyond. Remember, it is a bank holiday here on Monday in England, so there may not be too many developments through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and things may start to warm up from Tuesday. But that's me looking further beyond. At the moment, we're taking things in 24-hour stints because things are ever changing. So that has been today's transfer live stream, the transfer show with me. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. It is much appreciated. Thank you to everybody for interacting with me today. It is much appreciated. A big shout out to you guys, much appreciated. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's stream. That'd be much appreciated. We are aiming for 200 likes, so any help towards that would be great. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. I'm doing daily City transfer updates for you guys to enjoy. So do subscribe. You do want to stay up to date. Thank you very much, Connor. Much appreciated for your kind comment there. Also, don't forget as well, social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Thank you very much, Bay. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'll be doing a live stream watch along of Man City's game against Spurs at midday BST on Saturday for you guys to enjoy. I'll have the link out to that tomorrow for you to go and set your reminders for. You can come and join me on that and we can talk all things transfers on there, of course. I will be back with the next episode, the penultimate episode of the transfer window for the transfer show. That will be up on Bank Holiday Monday, so that's what, the 20 is it the 22nd on Friday, 25th of August. I'll be doing my next episode of the transfer show, going early on the Monday, but I've got a bit of free time on Monday to free that up and make my schedule a bit easier. So we'll chat all things transfers again for the next episode, which will be episode number 13, and I think episode number 14 will probably be my final transfer show episode, and I'm hoping to do that on transfer deadline day on September 1st. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, just keeping you guys up to date with future content. Kigolagano, if I've said your name correctly, thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you for watching as well. And yeah, I'll be back in the next hour or hour and a half with the next episode of the my transfer updates. So do stay tuned for that, my daily transfer updates, and I'll see you all again real soon. I feel like I've been really flustered on this stream, and I don't know why. I've got nothing to be flustered over. Anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you for my daily transfer update very soon. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Have a cracking rest of your day. Peace. Ciao for now.